Right, tell you there, champs, and let's have this epic showdown of all the GPUs. Well, pretty much all the good ones that are going into laptops. We're going all the way from 1660 Ti up to 2070 Super Duper, and what I think is the best silicon on the market at the moment, the Radeon Pro 5600M. Well, at least in GPUs, just for what you get out of a 50 watt package, and yeah, hamstrung a bit in a MacBook Pro, thermally and power limited. Imagine in a gaming desktop. But anyway, let's get stuck into it. I think you're going to be very surprised. And I do actually have the new Razer Blade in with the RTX 2070 Super. I do have Aero 15 results here with a 2070 Super as well. They're very similar to the Aero, not quite as fast. So anyway, let's start off. All of these laptops have 8-core Intel CPUs, except the TUF and the G14, which have 4900 HS and 4800 in the TUF. The Surface Book 3 has a quad-core Ice Lake CPU, so of course that differs from the XPS 15, the MacBook Pro 16s and the Aero that all have Intel 8-core 10th generation. Well, the Macs have 9th generation, but it's the same thing. They all have 16 gigs RAM except for the Macs, which have 32, but that's not going to make a difference. So what you can see here is Wolf. If we just look at the 5600 in the middle there from the MacBook Pro 16, faster than the 2060 in the G14, which is a 65 watt, and just about the same speed as the 2060 in the TUF, which I think is a 90 watter. Of course, the fastest is the 2070 Super. That should be no surprise. It's quite a bit faster too. But Firestrike's one thing. We know Firestrike likes AMD, so let's have a look at some other ones. Let's have a look at Deus Ex Mankind Divided. And again, there's really not that much difference between the 5600M and the 2060s, both the 2060s. And what needs to be realized here is that is 50 watts, that 5600M. Okay, 50 watts. And there's a laptop with 90 watts, like nearly double, that's getting 5 frames per second faster in the 2060 in the TUF, and it's so close to the G14 as well. And Deus Ex Mankind Divided, it's a game that likes Nvidia graphics card. So that's just amazing that the 5600's keeping up, and by the way, the XPS 15 there, it's going alright as well. One thing that's strange to me is the Surface Book. Why is the 1660 Ti doing as well as those 2060s? And the only thing I can think of here is, I don't know, it is what it is. Now let's have a look at GTA 5, and yeah, this is a game that's not really hard to play anymore. Remember back in the day, this one was a hard game on your system. Not anymore. And as we can see here, Wolf. Have a look at the 5600M, the red line there, faster than both 2060s in the Ryzen systems. Whether that's in part CPU differences between Intel and AMD, not too sure, because the frequency on the MacBook Pro wasn't that fast. It was going down to 2.5 gigahertz at some stages, so that's very interesting. 1650 Ti and the XPS 15's going well, and of course that big erection there, you can see 152, the Aero 2070 Super. If you want a game, that's the one to go for. And they're the sort of frames you want for a high refresh rate display. Now let's have a look at PUBG, baby. PUBG. I still play PUBG. I like it. What are you liking? Tell me in the comments what game you like. Warzone, PUBG, Fortnite. And what we can see here is, wow, again, the 5600M in the MacBook Pro, and remember, it is constrained in that. If that was in a gaming laptop and they could put an extra few watts into it, and you're comparing it to GPUs that have 65 watts, 90 watts, and have a look at it, it beats the G14, and it's very close to the TUF. Of course, the 2070 Super and the Aero, just, yeah, leagues in front there. XPS 15 is doing well at 91 frames per second. I don't know why the Surface Book 3 is so low with the 1660, but again, the 5600 beating the 2060. So I reckon the 5600 in a gaming laptop will probably be somewhere in between a 2060 and a 2070. The old 2070, not the 2070 Super. And maybe even match the old 2070 in some games. So here we can see Witcher 3, 5600, bigger bars there than the 2060. Both the 2060s and of course the 2070 Super well out in front here. It's actually amazing what happens when you actually optimize a product. I mean, obviously Apple and AMD worked on this together, and with Apple, One thing is, money's no object. So yeah, let's whack on 8 gigabytes of HBM memory. Let's add 40 CU units compared to 36 that's on the normal 5600. We can do that because you're not constrained by money, because Apple people just pay the money. But I do wonder how expensive the 5600 compared to a 2070 or 2060. It'll be very interesting to know that. But to be beating these 2060s, I'll have to add an Intel 2060 to see if it's any difference there. And all these tests have been done within like the last month and a half. Pretty much the same drivers. So I'm not comparing it to something that was tested 6 months ago. Now with Battlefield 5, we can see 5600 for the win. It's beaten the 2060 comprehensively. They are AMD systems, so I don't know how much that plays into it. And interestingly, the 2060 in the TUF is slower than the G14. And I think that is because when I was testing that TUF, it was getting to a 105 degrees. Yes, I've never seen a laptop go to 105, but that one did. So maybe that's throttled down a bit. But again, it beats those laptops that use a lot more power. Of course, the 2070 Super on top again, and the XPS 15 does what you want. It plays 60 frames per second, so I'm happy with that. So anyway, just a quick video. Hope you enjoyed it. Catch you next one. Tally ho.